3 times before, you have felt the terror, known the madness, lived the horror. But this is the one you've been screaming for. Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Jason is back. He moves like a shadow, dark and silent.
Sorry, you changed your mind?
He never utters a word. He doesn't even seem to breathe.
Where the hell's the corkscrew?
He simply, mindlessly, mercilessly kills. But now, Jason's reign of terror is over. Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Jason's unlucky day.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio. With me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello, friends.
Hello. Not much of a story open today. I just want to say this movie we watched this week got me so excited for October. I don't know if it was the same with you guys, but I was like, all right, I can't wait to watch some good horror movies in about 3 weeks or so. Yeah, we were almost there. Spooky season.
Yeah, it's an interesting time for Friday the 13th to come around on us in September. Last year we had one in October, which was interesting. But yeah, a nice precursor.
It's my wife had a good idea because a lot of the times these streaming services, what they'll do is when October rolls around, all the good horror movies are behind the paywall. So we start watching horror movies a little earlier. So we'll start in September to get some of the good horror movies in just before they disappear.
Yeah, and it was always funny to see in Netflix when it says leaving 7 days, and it's like, oh well, that's September 30th. That's September 31st.
Yeah. It sucks how
30th. There's no 31st in September.
I hate how they've done that, though. Like, obviously, these companies are trying to make money, but the people want to watch The Thing. They want to watch Hellraiser. They want to watch some traditional, awesome horror movies. So just give it to us. To us. Don't make us pay for American Werewolf in London or something. It's been out for 40 years.
Yeah. Life is tough enough as it is. Don't just give us fucking horror movies 1 month out of the year. That's all we ask.
Yeah,
We don't ask for much.
It's true, though.
The first presidential candidate to say that, they got my vote. Doesn't even matter who it is. It could be RFK Jr.
I was just gonna say I'm fairly sure RFK said something about that.
Yeah, I think you think he probably said that he was a werewolf. That's what you. Or he shot one.
That's why he dumped the bear body in Central Park.
I was out in the Adirondacks and I shot a wolf with a silver bullet.
That's why you don't see him after midnight either.
And then I ate him to retain his powers.
Before we went into the bit, when you said the werewolf thing, Ant, I literally had to sit here and stop. Like, did he ever say that?
That's the scary part. He probably believes in that shit.
Yeah. Who do you think RFK Jr. thinks is the most fuckable cryptid?
Ooh, man, this is a great third segment. The most fuckable cryptid?
Save it for October.
That's a great question. I like how deep are we going? Because there's
depends on how deep RFK Jr. could go.
Yeah, that's true. Because
He's a candidate.
Yeah, he's got all the files. I don't know, Nessie is too big, obviously. Bigfoot, he'd probably want to shoot and kill Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But like there's Japanese spirits, stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. What's a fuckable cryptid? The Jersey Devil?
I mean, that's
That's
part of
good.
the lore, right?
Yeah.
I feel he'd be, if this counts as a cryptid, an Oni guy,
Yeah, maybe.
just because of the mask. For some reason, I feel like the mask would turn him on.
He's got that whole what's that Frank Henenlotter movie with the thing that attaches itself to the back of your neck?
Oh, Brain Dead?
Yeah, he's got the whole brain dead thing going on anyway, or with the worms. So he definitely has his own situation to deal with that.
That is probably his favorite horror movie.
It better be. This is my life.
This one time I tried to sue Frank Henenlotter for the rights to him because he tried to use my likeness.
Then I realized he's been dead for 20 years. I don't know.
Oh boy. Yeah, I don't even know if Frank Henenlotter's dead or not.
Feels like he would be, right?
Yeah.
Hold on, let's.
I don't know if the 20-year thing would be true.
Maybe not. He is. He's
Still alive. 74. Young enough to run for president.
No. Well, if our
to sue him, then
if our powers that we have not used in a while still exist, by the time this episode airs, he will pass.
oh, that's true.
I
Oh,
hope
boy.
not. Let's hope not.
Yeah, we need him. When's the last time he came out with a movie? That's a good question.
I don't know. But
No.
Frankenhooker is a gem.
It is Basket Case, Brain Damage,
Yeah.
some certified bangers.
Feels like we're due for a Henenlotter movie this October.
I think it's calling.
Hmm.
Thanks, RFK.
Yeah.
Something.
All right. So this week is the pod. If you're listening to this when we drop this episode, it is Friday the 13th officially. And since we moved over to Friday releases, we've been doing Friday the 13th movies when they arise. So we are up to the fourth one at this point. So this week's movie is Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Spoiler alert, it was not. From 1984. And I personally think this is arguably the best Friday the 13th. But I want to know where you guys are coming from. With Dan, where are you coming from? Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
So right off the bat, hard agree with you, Ant. This is my favorite installment of the series. I think it gets back to the roots. It kind of strayed away a little bit in the third one. We get like Jason proper in this movie, although we don't see him for an hour. But we have some good kills, good gore effects. Tom Savini coming back to help out in that department. Some of my favorite kills of the series are in this movie, specifically looking at Crispin Glover. But yeah, this movie I like a lot. It's a very straightforward slasher flick. I think the teenagers in this movie are better than in the third installment. This one, they have a little bit more of a personality. They're fleshed out a little bit more. And it gets back to horny teens just trying to screw each other's brains out with Jason cock blocking them, essentially. Yeah, I think this movie is great. It has terrible dialogue with Crispin Glover just like loudly proclaiming he's horny, being called a dead fuck. I think this, I would say, introducing Tommy Jarvis as a character is kind of refreshing. It's interesting to have a kid be kind of a focal point of a Friday the 13th movie, and it works out pretty well. It's very 80s, this movie. But I've seen this movie a bunch of times. I like how they show what Jason looks like underneath.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time we see what he looks like underneath the mask. We're counting at the very end of the first Friday the 13th when he jumps out of the lake.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you get the quintessential Jason zombie look here. I like this movie a lot. I'm very much looking forward to discussing it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Mark, what about you? Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Yeah, so as you may all know, the slasher movies from this time period are the horror movies that I go back to and do enjoy. I agree. I think it's 3 for 3 in terms of this is the best of the Friday the 13th. It realizes everything the formula has been building to, and it finally got a good mix of the teens and then the action. The only thing, and this is the first time I've really ever said this on this podcast, I just wanted a little less of the teen stuff and a little more Jason, like, shorten the movie a little bit. I was starting to get not bored, but sort of like, all right, when is the slasher stuff going to start? And right near the end. And then literally 5 minutes after that is when the one girl gets killed on the raft, and everything just pops off. So that was really my only complaint about it. It sort of got to the point where it's like, all right, I get it. I know all the characters. I pretty much know, why and when they're going to die, essentially, just because they do the thing with making very stupid decisions, and very obvious ones, like the guy deciding not to go on the skinny dipping, so she goes out alone. But that's what these type of movies are, and it's what makes them great in my mind, is that I get to look forward to the kills that are coming instead of them just popping out of nowhere for some reason. But I still get, like, not a jump scare, but sometimes when the machete shows up or something, it does, like, startle me a bit. But yeah, that whole part of the movie I love. Practical effects are my favorite. So it's had plenty of it. As Dan mentioned, still had some of my favorite kills in it. The only one that tops it is I'm still a liquid nitrogen. Jason X is probably my favorite kill in the Jason series. But I think two things with this. It was kind of jarring and kind of like how crazy of a 1982 that Lawrence, what was that, Monson or the guy to play Ted, who also had The Last American Virgin come out the same year, and he played two completely different characters in both of those movies with the same kind of sex starved person, but just handled it in two different ways. So that was a pretty much, I had didn't know he was in this movie. I have never seen this in full. I realized that I had seen the end of it when Corey Feldman comes down with the haircut and all that. That I vividly remembered. But yeah, and seeing Crispin Glover, not as Marty's dad, and being that young actor in this was fun too to watch. But yeah, this movie nails all the stereotypes, has some fun things. I think, as Ant said, or maybe Dan said it, the introduction of Corey Feldman's character as being like a preteen sort of involved in this whole thing sort of adds a nice wrinkle that I think makes the movie unique and gives a pretty good ending to the movie, especially since they lied in the title screen. But it was one of those leaving a little thread there just in case if they came back to it. And yeah, definitely my number one of the Friday the 13th.
Okay. Yeah. It's got everything. It's got good kills, Tom Savini effects. It's got boobs. It's got twins.
Yeah.
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 The one thing it doesn't have, which I do miss from Friday the 13th Part 3, is just an oafish Jason just lumbering around like a big old goon.
Yeah.
He's very much more, sneaky in this one. A little stealthy.
Well, he learned his lesson.
Yeah.
Right.
I prefer the goonish Jason where you just see him lumbering down steps, falling all the time. I like that. I don't know why.
I think it fits the character better because he's literally a zombie.
Yeah.
Right? You would leave the gracefulness to more of like Freddy. He's a little bit more graceful with how he approaches his kills. Jason is just brute force, really.
Yeah. He yeets a whole bunch of people in this movie. Out of a window, through a window. It's great.
Even the dog goes through the window.
When
the dog eats himself out the window.
He's like, I've had enough of this.
I'm out of here.
When that occurred at one of the first ones, I immediately went, "Oh man, I wish we were doing commentary on this," because I know I would have yelled immediately. I would have yelled, "Yeet!"
I think there's 3 people who go through windows. 4 people.
And one does it on her own.
Yeah. It was fun maybe twice.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we kind of jumped the shark on this one a little bit.
The defenestration rating is high on this one.
Yeah. And the one where she throws herself out the window, she does not need to fall all the way to the ground.
No,
there's at least 3 to 4 feet of deck and roof there that she could have gathered herself instead of doing that fall off the roof.
She's just being fucking dramatic.
One of my favorite parts of this movie is towards the end where Trish is the last one standing outside of her brother Tommy, and she's trying to run out of the house, but every door she opens, there's a dead body there.
That was really good.
And for some reason, she just doesn't keep running out of the house. It's like, for some reason, she doesn't remember that she can just go through, or underneath the body. Like the front door, there's just a dead body on the porch. There's nothing blocking her from leaving.
Right.
And she decides to, just go out the window.
Yep. Yeah, no windows were safe in this movie, that's for sure.
No. And you could tell that Crispin Glover had plans for himself in this movie because he doesn't get naked.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. Like, I'll leave that for the rest of you people who don't have a future in film. I plan on going places. I'm going to be in Back to the Future, goddammit.
Speaking of which, I haven't looked in the trivia, but I bet there's something that says everyone hated Crispin Glover on the set.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, probably. He definitely came across, and I don't know if he was trying to make his character, was Jimmy, right? Jimmy kind of standoffish and very kind of unlikable. So I don't know if he was trying to make the character that way or if that's just how he was on set.
Yeah, I don't know. But it says he's the one that came up with the dance all by himself.
I believe it.
And he was dancing to Back in Black by AC/DC.
But they didn't have the rights, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. We got to bring those dance moves back. We used to be a proper nation.
It says how he actually danced in clubs.
Ugh. Not great.
Yeah. I feel like he, in the cocaine fueled 80s, he was probably still having difficulty getting laid.
Maybe.
Right?
Not
He seems like he had such an off-putting personality that he like people was like, I'm not that desperate.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine he struggled. He was very unique as a person.
Yeah.
Because it always shined through with his characters that he played, even up until like Charlie's Angels, where he plays that like the mute stalker. Mm-hmm. He's never dull when he's in a movie, and at least you could say that about him.
Yeah. Sure. All the way up through Hot Tub Time Machine, where he plays the concierge who loses an arm.
I forgot about that. That's right. I think he's the one that's responsible for having to get permission to use someone's likeness, right?
Yeah, because Back to the Future 2, right?
Yeah, because they dressed someone up to look like him. Oh no, they used like old footage. Like I never gave permission for you to use that. So yeah, I mean he's led a very interesting life. Yeah. Crispin Glover has, and he has a very memorable kill in this. I'm sure it's definitely like a top 5 for Friday the 13th diehards, right? Where's the corkscrew, Ted?
Yeah. Where the hell's this corkscrew?
This is a great line. It's awesome, and I like that's not my favorite kill from this movie, but it's a very good kill.
Mm-hmm. What is your favorite in this movie?
My favorite is when Doug gets his head crushed in the shower.
Okay.
Just the brute force of Jason just pressing his head up against the wall, and his you hear the crunch, and they don't show you what I think there's an unrated version where they show it, but yeah, they don't show you the aftermath of it. They just show you his dead body hanging off of the glass. But yeah, I like that one. That's my favorite.
Gotcha. What about you, Mark? You got a favorite?
Yeah, well, the Crispin Glover one, 100%. Just for the insanity of it. Like pinning the hands down first. It's just made me laugh. I did enjoy the stabbing through the porn reel in the projector screen. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, a character spends a good 20 minutes of the movie just watching vintage porn,
and then gets killed through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the Crispin Glover one, just because the unnecessariness of stabbing him with the corkscrew first, and all that is it's like the liquid nitrogen one. That's my number one, where they're already dead from the liquid nitrogen. The smashing the head on the table is what makes it cool and memorable, and the hand pinning is what makes it memorable for me.
One of my favorites, or maybe my favorite from this one, is Rob, because he narrates his entire death. The guy in the basement. Oh my God, he's killing me! He's killing me! That's my favorite.
He's telling Trish to run, right?
Yeah.
He's killing me, Trish, run! And so this girl, I don't know how she survived. She runs up the stairs and then turns back and goes downstairs.
Yeah.
I guess to maybe see if she can help him, but
yeah, I don't know why. I also like, is it Sarah who gets the axe through the door and impaled on it? That one's pretty sick. After
getting out of the shower.
Yeah. She runs downstairs, goes to the door, and the axe comes through the door.
Yeah, that's a good one. Who was it? Rob, you said, right? Rob is the one who's getting narrated. He narrates his death. And then Jason chucks his dead body through the window.
Yeah. Yeah. The twin that gets pulled through the window onto the car is a pretty good one too.
That's a good one. Yeah, I think this movie does a better job overall in terms of what you want from a slasher movie, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The gore effects are there. They have plenty of people to kill. I think there's like 10 people in this movie that are killed. High body count, bad dialogue, lots of boobs. So yeah, like they hit a home run. In my opinion, on this movie.
Yeah, and you got Corey Feldman in it too.
Yeah, that's true. Corey Feldman, crazy Corey Feldman, as they like to call him.
Yeah.
I will say my only strike against this movie, if there is one, is that they don't really bring back Tommy Jarvis's love of making prop masks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I remember when I first watched the movie years ago, I thought he was going to distract Jason with a mask and not butcher his head.
It's an enormous leap of faith that's what's going to do it. Jason is going to think I'm him from when he was a kid.
Right. It's a total hack job on his hair.
Yeah. Jason, you remember me? It's you, the one with the bad haircut.
I just roasting him. And my favorite part is the very next scene where Tommy goes to visit Trish in the hospital. He still has the bad haircut.
Yeah.
He couldn't just go back and finish the job.
Yeah. One thing that pisses me off, Trish, when she finally gets the machete, completely whiffs.
Yeah. Well, she hits the mask.
She hits the mask and then drops it. And then Tommy's like, okay, I got this shit. And he goes fucking ham.
That's a pretty good kill scene, too.
When Tommy kills Jason?
Yeah, he hits him in the head and he slowly slides down the machete.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good scene.
Yeah.
It's fun because, again, like Tom Savini, he was there for the first one, but I don't think he was there for 2 and 3. So he came back for 4, I believe.
I'm pretty sure that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, horror fans out there, I'm not speaking out of school. He's definitely a god in terms of special effects. When you get him on a project, it's going to be creative at least.
Yeah. So, Friday the 13th, the final chapter from 1984, is directed by Joseph Zito, who directed The Prowler, Missing in Action, Invasion USA, Red Scorpion, Delta Force One, The Lost Patrol, and Power Play. Stars Eric Anderson, Judy Aronson, Peter Barton, Kimberly Beck, Tom Everett, Corey Feldman, Joan Freeman, Crispin Glover, Wayne Grace. IMDb score is 6.0, Rotten Tomato score of 21%. Budget $2.6 million. Box office $33 million. I also realized that my cast list is in alphabetical order, which sucks because I probably didn't say most of the people that were in this movie, like Barbara Howard, who played Sarah, Lawrence Monason, who played Ted.
Yeah,
and the twins.
The twins.
I do like how they had to introduce twins in this movie. It was like, we need more naked women in this, so let's just introduce twins. We haven't had twins in this series yet.
God bless them for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I did quite laugh a lot at the creepiness of Corey Feldman's character in the beginning of the movie when he's looking across and seeing the girl undressing and all his reactions in bed.
Oh, he's going apeshit.
I feel like that's an authentic reaction, though.
No, yeah, but it just made me laugh.
Sure.
Like he just it looked a little over the top, but it was definitely like I think the rolling back into bed excited was just like to play up for the camera, but all the other stuff was very much what a kid that age would do.
For sure.
Because I only point out the rolling back into bed because a kid that age would never take his eyes off the window. Don't want to miss anything.
Exactly. Do you guys want to get into the plot?
Let's do it.
Sure.
All right, Dan, what do you got for us?
All right, guys, I'm going to keep it short and sweet because I'm getting over a cold right now. 2 podcasts that I would love for you to check out. The Top 10 with Tia, with our good friend Tia and her co-host Brittany. It's a Top 10 list podcast, so go over to geekvibesnation.com, check that out. And also, our very own Mark Myers and the Game Vault podcast. It is a bi-weekly podcast where Mark talks about video game news, video games that he's playing, and things that you should be on the lookout for. So if that's something you're into, check it out. It's on any podcast platform of your choice. He also streams on Twitch at Game Vault Pod. So please go follow him on all that stuff.
Okay, great. And we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we will be right back. And welcome back. And now it's time to get into plot for Friday the 13th, the final chapter. We open, as most good horror sequels from the 80s start, with a recap of the previous movies. We go through the first 3 movies, and we cut to the title card with the hockey mask, an explosion, and then credits.
I did like the campfire ghost story way of doing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's from the first movie. I don't know. First or second? I think it's second, actually. Yeah. After the credits, we then get a helicopter overhead shining its light above over a caravan of emergency vehicles as EMTs and police attend to the crime scene left by the third film. Cops collect evidence around Jason's body, then the EMTs come and pick up Jason and tosses him in the back of an ambulance. Emergency vehicles all leave the campsite, take him to the hospital, and bring Jason's body to the morgue, where we meet a sandwich-eating, horny coroner that suggests that he's not above having his way with a corpse. This guy was in the Police Academy movies, and he's also plays the rabbi in Seinfeld.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Elaine's neighbor.
Good for him.
I love that this must be a like nightly or weekly occurrence for him and this nurse, because they have like a, meet me in cold storage or whatever he says, to her. And, she knows exactly where to go.
Well,
this scene
it's probably the basement.
It's true.
The scene gives off big Halloween 2 vibes.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Isn't that something that happens in Halloween 2, right? The coroner, horny coroner. Am I thinking of the right movie?
There's definitely a nurse that gets naked.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
In Halloween 2. Yeah.
And I don't remember if someone's watching a Jazzercise video in Halloween 2. For some reason, it's sticking out in my mind that there is. I could be wrong, though.
The EMTs leave, and the coroner starts putting the moves on a nurse. She agrees to meet him in the cold room. After some news watching, they start making out, getting ready to fuck. But Jason's body cock blocks by dropping his hand off the table and hitting the nurse in the ass. She freaks out, zips up, and walks out of the room and starts doing an inventory of the supply closet. because the coroner settles back down to watch exercise videos on the television. Jason grabs a surgical saw and cuts his head off and stabs the nurse in the supply closet with a knife. We then cut to two women taking a jog in the woods. The two women are Mrs. Jarvis and her daughter, Trish. They get back home where the younger son, Tommy, is playing computer games while wearing an alien mask. Computer game having exceptional audio for the time period.
It looked pretty good, too.
True.
Yeah. And then those 8-bit sounds. That was like real sound effects going.
It brings me back.
Takes his mask off to reveal that he is in fact Corey Feldman, whose face has looked the same for the last 40 years.
It's weird.
I guess good for him. He wasn't a bad looking kid.
He's a little weird looking. I mean, now he's like all kind of, he's gotten some work done, but he looks like the Corey Feldman that got older to look exactly like him.
Yeah.
It's like an adult's head on a little kid's body is what I'm saying.
I was thinking the same thing, but trying to figure out how to word it.
Yeah.
And I think you nailed it.
Their house neighbors other house, which is being rented out by a group of teens for the week. Then cut to said teens driving to the camp as one of the guys happens to be Crispin Glover. As he laments the fact that he broke up with a girl with a reputation for her oral skills. And his buddy tells him that it's because he's bad at sex.
He's a dead fuck.
He's a dead fuck. They do drive that into the ground in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's that scene. There's the scene when they're hiking, right? And who was that? That was that Todd, right? Or
Ted.
Ted is still giving him shit about how to like have sex, essentially. Which I kind of like because it's in this movie, and this movie kind of baits you into thinking that Crispin Glover is more of a focal point when really he's just another victim. But it's fleshing out these guys. Like this, Ted thinks he's suave and he's a ladies' man, and that winds up not being true. And he's giving Crispin Glover's character Jimmy advice, but really he probably doesn't even know what he's talking about. Yeah,
we have no evidence that Ted is ever fucked.
Right.
I'd rather be Crispin Glover, who's a dead fuck, than Teddy, who's not fucking.
Right. Yeah, still got the job done, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the equivalent of it? Still smash, though.
Yeah, still smash. Doesn't matter, had sex. The teens responsible for getting them to the camp then realize that they are lost. Take a moment to look at the map right next to Pamela Voorhees' roadside headstone. They get back on the road and pass by a hitchhiking hippie. Promptly gets stabbed in the throat by Jason after they leave her in the dust.
That's I love too.
I love the double-sided sign.
Yeah. Hey, you got a sister? Fuck you. That's a pretty good death scene too. With for some reason they show the banana when she's being killed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but it made me laugh. It shouldn't be the focal point of a kill.
Yeah. Back at the Jarvis household, there's some wholesome family togetherness and group hugs, and we meet Gordon the dog. The teens make it to the rental house, and Gordon makes introductions as Trish and Tommy greet the teens. Then a couple of girls in the group talk sex stuff in the bathroom. And over at the Jarvises, Tommy spies on one of them getting changed in front of the window and then making out with her boyfriend. His mom then comes into the room, so he quickly pretends to be asleep. She closes blinds as she sees what's going on across the yard.
When I first saw this movie, and I don't know if you guys thought this was going to happen, did you think the mom was going to pretend to leave the room and catch him being a perv?
Oh no, but that's a good one.
Yeah, I thought she was. When she went to go close the blinds, I thought she was pretending to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, Tommy Jarvis, you better get your mind out of the gutter. Sorry, Mom.
In the morning, the teens go on a hike to Crystal Point, where they run into a couple of cute twins on bikes who happen to be going to the same place.
But
they
riding the opposite way.
Yep.
Which I had to do kind of a double take. Like, oh, that's exactly where we're going. Yep, there you go. But
so 4. You did 4 takes?
I can't believe my eyes. 4 twins.
I'm seeing double.
Yeah, it was just funny because we're heading to the lake ourselves. No, you're not. You're specifically going the opposite way.
Yeah. What's also weird is that later, when they're back at the house and the other girl gets pissed off by the twins getting all the attention, she goes to the lake and she's there in 30 seconds.
It's almost like it's right next to the cabin.
Yeah.
So I don't know
Which
what happened there.
the geography of this movie is a little fucked up. Because
Yeah.
because Trish and Tommy have to drive to the lake late, but then the house is right there, according to this woman wanting to skinny dip so she could get her boyfriend away from the twins, who he doesn't seem to be very worried about his girlfriend, I guess, seeing him basically grind up on one of these brand new twins.
Yeah, he's in no rush to stop that from happening.
Yeah. In the morning, the teens go on a hike. They say it's a long walk, so the teens start to hoof it, but Sarah decides to go back to the car. She winds up walking into a whole bunch of bushes and scaring herself. Sarah. This one thing, like there is all these teens feel like a misdirect, right? Because the main character is really Trish in all of this.
Yes.
She's the final girl, but Sarah is almost played up to be that, right?
Yeah, the innocent one.
Mm-hmm.
But she makes the fatal mistake of fucking.
She has sex.
Yep. Should have known better.
Mm-hmm. Jamie Kennedy would have told you.
That's right. Yeah, and the same thing with Crispin Glover, right? He's a guy. He's like a nerdy guy, so you think he has a better chance, but no, he gets it kind of in the middle.
Yeah. Does everybody get it? Because does everybody break the rules and then die? Jamie Kennedy's rules, right?
Yeah, because Crispin Glover does have sex.
Crispin Glover has sex, as does the twin.
Mm-hmm.
The other twin doesn't, though.
I think it's like even if you get naked, it counts, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, skinny dipping is a big one. That's a big no-no.
Yeah. Well, I guess that checks everybody's box.
Except for
Ted.
For
Sarah. Yeah, Ted. Yeah.
Although he's watching pornography.
Ted skinny dips. The only one that doesn't is Crispin Glover and Sarah.
And Trish.
Well, yeah, because Trish isn't. Yeah, she walks away. She's the one that's. Yeah,
she's got her brother. That's right. Yeah. That would have been awkward. Stay here, Tommy. I'm gonna go skinny dipping with my friends.
Turn around.
Just stay there for a while. Just don't look.
Keep your hands above the waist.
So another thing with the skinny dipping that I think is weird to me. The twins do it, and maybe it's my Puritan mind coming through here, but I've always thought that's strange. Right, like family members doing something along those lines at that age.
It's a bit incestuous.
Yeah, it's kind of in left field.
Towing that line, right?
Yeah. It is. Because they're not touching each other, they're not doing anything else. It's just, but they're both just out and about, and maybe I'm a prude. I don't know. Right. But it just seems off.
It's just that twin sister connection, man. Maybe you just don't understand.
You never know, right? Like they have to. Is that an unwritten rule? If one twin is naked, the other one has to be naked?
Well, it's like, at the same time, it's like, well, I kind of have an idea of what that looks like, right?
Sure, because that's what
exactly. So it's kind of like looking at a mirror.
Yeah, I guess that's one way.
Maybe that's the way that twins think about it. I have no fucking clue.
I would love for a twin to answer that question. I don't know if you've ever done that.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to know.
It's a great mystery.
Yeah, let's just assume whatever answer we want to have in our heads.
Yeah, we each get our own way.
Yeah,
I think that's
everybody's fair. Right.
Everyone's happy.
Then the teens make it to the lake and skinny dip, though it takes some convincing to get Crispin Glover in the lake. Then Trish and Tommy show up with Gordon. Tommy's eyes almost fall out of his head, seeing the twins. So Trish orders Tommy back to the car. On the way back, the car stalls out, and Tommy gets out of the car to try and see what the issue is. I think how Tommy is going to fix the car. He's like 12.
I think that's what's good about this character is we know a lot about him in 20-25 minutes of runtime already.
Mm-hmm.
He is a big video game. He's a gamer. He likes pop culture stuff. He's creative. He's good with his hands. None of which comes into play throughout the rest of the movie, really.
That is true, yeah.
But we know stuff about him.
Yep. It is funny, though. He must be looking under the fuck I'm looking at because he doesn't fix it.
But you know what he does? He's like faking it till he makes it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, try that. All right, we'll try that.
He wasn't counting on Rob coming in and blowing up his spot.
It's true. Yeah, he steals his thunder.
Yeah. Back at the lake, Sarah has made it and is reading, fully collected the dock, but Lainey doesn't like that idea, so she pretends to drown until she drags Sarah into the water. Is that girl's name Lainey? I think that was that actress's name, maybe.
I don't remember.
I don't know. It says in my notes, Laney. I'm going to assume it is Laney.
Yeah. There's so many people in this movie.
There's a lot. I really couldn't follow who was who. The twins threw a wrench in it because I forgot that they come back to the house with them. So there's like extra girls that are slightly dressed the same. It got very confusing for me for a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, I think there's equal amount of women to men in this, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
She pretends to drown until she drags Sarah into the water. Tommy looks over the engine but doesn't have a screwdriver. Luckily, a hiker walking by helps them out, using his knife as some sort of electric conductor to essentially act as a jump start. Car starts and Trish offers the guy a ride home. In the car, the guy Rob says he was hunting bear and asks a strange question about if there were any kids around. Trish tells him about the group of teens that moved in next door. They go home to the Jarvis house, and Tommy brings Rob upstairs to show him his collection of weird monster masks. Back at the teen house, they're back from the lake with the twins, and Crispin Glover breaks the mood by turning on some 80s rock and then gets one of the twins to dance as only Crispin Glover can do.
Oh, man. It gives Elaine Bennett a run for her money.
Yeah. If you haven't seen this clip, it's something to behold.
Yeah. I feel as if true horror fans know exactly what that clip is.
Yes.
Right. That's like you hang it in the Louvre.
Mm-hmm. But his buddy turns it off and changes over to some more romantic music. So they all awkwardly slow dance, and it doesn't seem like there's any established couples in this group. Trish walks Rob out as he goes to continue his hike and search for quote-unquote bears. And Crispin Glover feels like he's becoming the odd one out in the coupling. As the drinks continue to flow, tensions get higher as the twins start to garner all the attention from the guys. Samantha gets tired of competing for Paul's attention. Now her name is Samantha in my notes, I guess. So she suggests she and he go skinny dipping. So she goes out and strips down on her own, expecting him to follow suit. But he's still in the house, getting close to one of the twins, which also starts to piss Ted off. Samantha swims up to a raft and waits for Paul, but Jason winds up just impaling her through the raft.
So in that scene where Ted is getting annoyed by Doug, right?
Maybe that's his name.
I think, right. Crispin Glover, his character has a pretty good comeback to him because Ted's been giving Crispin Glover's character shit the entire time. It's like, oh, well, like, who does this guy think he is? Like, I don't know. Maybe you should put it in your computer. Like, oh, pretty good.
Yeah, because the computer is Ted's way of, telling it like it is, basically.
Like justifying being a shitty person.
Yeah. Ted goes off to look for Samantha, leaving the twin Ted was dancing with the pair up with Crispin Glover, which doesn't make him feel great about being a choice, but she says she wants to go upstairs, so he stops worrying about it and follows her up, leaving Ted with the other twin who is not into Ted at all. Paul goes out to the lake to join Samantha and finds her body in the raft and frantically swims back to shore. My notes have these names all over the place, but we're just going to soldier on.
Yeah.
Rob, meanwhile, skulks around the woods and comes across a tent with signs of life in it. Upstairs, Crispin Glover and the twins are getting familiar. One of the twins. That would have been an interesting scene, but only one of the twins getting familiar in the bedroom, while everyone else is downstairs watching a silent film era stag film.
That's what they were called, stag film.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I knew there was a term for this silent movie era of pornography.
Yeah. And Ted is just overacting this shit, man. He thinks it's the funniest fucking thing.
He loves it.
He fucking loves it. He's being that creepy dude, man.
Yeah, even I would know when to pull back a little bit.
Mm-hmm. The other twin is over it, and she tries to get her to leave with her, but she's too busy with Crispin Glover, so the other twin leaves. And she gets killed off screen, then launched with the spear into the side of the house. That's a pretty good one, too.
It's a good one. The one guy gets the spear through the dick.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. At the Jarvis house, the mom comes into a house that is empty and the power doesn't work. I'm just thinking about, we never find out what happens to the mom, do we?
She kind of disappears from the movie.
Right?
I don't know if she's looking for somebody or if she dies. I don't know.
The mom goes outside looking for Gordon, and she gets startled by something off screen. And then I think that is the last we see of the mom. We don't get any resolution of what happened to her. Obviously, we assume that she died. She gets killed by Jason. But we have no evidence of that, I don't think. Tommy and Trish are headed... Good.
I was going to say, I don't think it's ever said.
Yeah. Tommy and Trish are headed back to the house in the car. Do we know where they're coming from?
The campsite, no?
Again?
Well, isn't that when Rob tells her that he's looking for Jason to avenge the death of his sister?
She hasn't run into him yet.
Oh,
When the
okay.
mom gets home, Tommy and Trish are in the car again, coming back. I don't know.
Right.
It's
Okay.
weird. This
Yeah.
it gets a little muddled. Meanwhile, Sarah is getting all sexy for her guy friend, whose name I have no idea. And Trish and Tommy are back at the house, and they can't find her mom. So Trish tells Tommy to stay in the house while she goes and looks for the mom. She goes walking out in the rain and comes across the same tent that Rob found. She goes inside and a machete goes slashing through the tent, nearly catching Trish. Winds up being Rob, who wasn't expecting it to be Trish in the tent. Crispin Glover and the girl have finished having sex, and he asks her if he was a dead fuck, and she says he was incredible.
See,
He goes,
they missed the little button on that bit for her to say, yeah, just the
I guess it's one of those things where it's like it doesn't add anything
yeah.
to really say one way or the other. So it's just
Yeah.
like we'll say he was fine. I think it should have been left out. Where what's the point? That
I mean,
you did what you wanted.
In my head, if you're going to bring it back up again, you have to have her say, like, sort of confirm it, like,
well,
in some way. In my head,
I get what you're saying, but I think in this dynamic, you're supposed to be rooting for him versus Ted.
oh, okay.
And I think Ted's not supposed to win that, right? Because he's being a
Okay,
dick,
I
and
get- okay.
he's being a dick on purpose.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if he is called a dead fucker, it's like, it was okay,
Yeah,
then
I
it's
guess the idea, because he does die pretty soon after this, so
Yeah.
maybe it's the one last. He finally gets validation, and then he needs to find a corkscrew.
yeah,
In my mind, what would play out better is she obviously enjoyed it, and he just kind of like rollovers and says to himself, like dead fuck my ass, like basically saying
Yeah.
that's totally like I
Okay.
killed it, I crushed it. Or like when he's going down the stairs or whatever, he puts his robe on, like dead fuck. Well, yeah, okay. I just like he gains that confidence only for him to just get a fucking machete right in the face. The next scene.
The world has a way of humbling us, doesn't it?
That's a good point. It giveth and it taketh away.
He goes downstairs and rubs her panties in Ted's face figuratively as Ted continues to watch old naked movies. Crispin Glover goes in the kitchen to open up a bottle of wine to celebrate, but he can't find the corkscrew because Jason already has it and stabs Glover in the hand with it to nail him to the counter. Then he gets him with the machete in the face.
So for this to work, Jason would have had to have the forethought to know that Crispin Glover just had the sex.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to want to celebrate.
Yep.
I better get the corkscrew. Like that is unprecedented levels of forethought by Jason Voorhees.
Yep. He's a master of the plan, man.
Good for here I am thinking he's just a brute. When he's setting traps, he knows exactly what's happening. He's playing 4D chess while these kids are playing checkers.
Mm-hmm. The twin Crispin Glover slept with comes back into the bedroom and looks out the window, then gets yeeted out of the window by Jason, who has scaled the side of the house.
She gets it pretty bad. Lands
Yeah.
right on top of the car.
Yep. Rob tells Trish that his sister was killed by Jason, that he's still alive, as she shows her a newspaper clipping of people that were killed at the hospital. Trish then realizes that she left Tommy in the house by himself. No worry about her mom. As Sarah and the other guy fuck in the shower, Ted gets killed by a knife to the back of the head. Sarah exits the shower and goes to wait for her guy in the bedroom. While he does a proper wash up in the shower, Jason smashes through the glass, crushes his face with his bare hands. Sarah doesn't hear it because she was drying her hair, but she goes back to the bathroom and finds his dead body. She screams, goes running down the steps and tries to get out of the house, but the door is locked, then gets impaled by an axe that gets tossed right through the wood of the door. Back at the Jarvis house, Trish and Rob make it back to the house. When Trish tries to call the cops, Jason breaks the phone line on the side of the house, and Rob and Trish decide to go next door to see if there's anyone there that can help, telling Tommy to stay home. They get to the teen house and find it quiet, and the power goes out. Rob goes to the basement to check things out, telling Trish to stay on the first floor with Gordon, but Gordon gets the fuck out of Dodge and jumps through a goddamn glass window.
And we never see Gordy again, right?
Nope.
So does that mean he's dead or he's just gone?
I think he's just gone.
Okay. The dog survives. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Also, why does it take Rob so long to check that basement? It's really like a cellar. There's not much of a basement to speak of.
It's a small space.
Yeah.
And it's not worth checking
No.
because you're really painting yourself into a corner there.
That would be like the last place I would look.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not going down there.
You clear the downstairs, you clear the upstairs, and then you check the basement.
Even if you want to check the basement, because at that point you've narrowed it down. You know he's down there.
Mm-hmm.
Just maybe lock the door, get the hell out of there. I don't know, but I think again it's perfect for this movie, right? In real life, you play it much smarter.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like how this character he really has an arc. He's the only character that has an arc,
Mm-hmm.
and it goes nowhere.
He gets murdered, and he tells us all about it.
It would be great if he was like, "I'm sorry, sister. I tried."
It reminds me of Dirty Work. Remember when they go and they plant the fish in like the mobster's house or whatever?
Yes.
And they're like waiting to hear what happens, and the guy's just narrating it. Oh my god, he's got a chainsaw.
He's shooting everybody. Oh my god, there's blood everywhere, and they're just holding the fish in the other room.
Back at the Jarvis house, Tommy's looking through Rob's stuff and finds the newspaper clippings about Jason. And Trish goes upstairs to try and find Gordon, and first comes across the running shower with blood around it. And now the body has been pinned to the wall with a knife, right in the dick. She screams and runs down to the basement to get Rob. They go to run up the stairs, but one of the stairs breaks, causing Rob to drop the knife. He goes to run back downstairs to get it, but then Jason pops up out of nowhere and just starts stabbing the shit out of Rob as Rob narrates the whole thing. Trish eventually begins to run, but comes back for some reason. She gets on the stairs. Jason grabs her foot, and she tries to fight him off with the machete. She goes to leave. She comes across Crispin Glover's body, who has now been pinned to the front door. She also comes across one of the twins' bodies on the ground. So Trish decides to break one of the windows in the kitchen to make her escape. Trish makes it back to the house and starts nailing the door shut. Jason eats a body through the window and then nearly pulls Tommy through another window. But Trish manages to fight him off with a hammer. She grabs Tommy and brings him to the bedroom. She barricades the door with a bookcase. Jason chops it down with the door with a knife. But he leaves himself open to Trish smashing a television over his head and knocks him out. Trish then tries to step over Jason, but he wakes up and starts to chase her. They wind up back in the house next door, where she winds up running all the way up the stairs, then jumps out a window, landing on the ground. You could probably do a good drinking game of every time a window is broken, you take a shot.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few windows broken in them.
She manages to get up and get back to the house where Tommy still is. Tommy starts shaving his head while Trish is downstairs fighting with Jason. Jason has her by the throat in the living room when Tommy comes down and calls out to Jason. Jason stops and walks towards Tommy, thinking that Tommy is the younger version of himself. This distracts Jason enough to give Trish the opportunity to grab the machete, and she's fucking useless as she's only knocks Jason's mask off, revealing his grotesque face. But Tommy rises to the occasion, grabs the machete, which Trish dropped for no reason. Tommy goes ham, first getting Jason right in the head and then just hacking away at him. Trish then goes to the hospital and she is reunited with Tommy and they hug, but then we get a classic creepy kid stare into the camera to end everything on a freeze frame. And that is the end of Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Yeah. Freeze frame endings are always the best.
Freeze frame ending.
I guess
creepy kid ending.
It's supposed to let us know that he's going to become a killer. Is that what I'm taking from it?
Yeah, it's like pretty much. It's like, ooh, he's got it in him now.
Yeah, you got the first taste of it by killing Jason.
Got the taste of blood.
They never follow through with that thread.
Tommy Jarvis comes back in 6.
And I think he's killed in 6.
I think he's the main character.
Is he he brings Jason back to life, right? He stabs him with the iron rod, the inanimate iron rod.
Yes. And
the lightning strikes.
Yeah.
I thought he dies in one of the installments. Maybe I'm wrong.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. I thought the main character in the first one, the 6th one, was Tommy.
Yeah, grown up Tommy.
Yeah.
That's the beginning of the movie, I think. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It opens on that because the 5th one isn't Jason.
Right. But it's not Tommy.
No. It's a fake. It's a copycat.
Yeah.
A new beginning.
And they saw that did poorly, so they went back to Jason.
Yeah, we'll have to explore that one the next Friday the 13th, which would be, when will that be?
That's a good question.
It's Friday the 13th. December. Well, we won't be doing it in December then.
Yeah, that's too quick. I'm sure there'll be one next year.
June of 2025.
Perfect. I like it.
I like your confidence that there'll be a June 2025.
I mean, you know what? If the sun explodes, I'm happy too.
We ended on a good Friday the 13th. That's one way to
Yeah.
look, right? This movie, it checks all the boxes. It does exactly what it needs to do. There are some threads that really don't go anywhere. Tommy Jarvis's talents aren't really utilized, but he's an interesting character. It's cool that they give the kid a lot to do in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
The teens are cannon fodder, but they're at least interesting teens for the most part.
Yeah.
The death scenes are great. The dialogue is corny, like I said at the top of the show. Yeah, I think it sets out. If this had been truly the final chapter, I think it went out on a high note. But obviously, that's not the case.
Yeah. All right. That's our that's Friday 13th. Not a new beginning. That's Friday 13th. The final chapter. We've got 1/3 segment left. But before we do, we're going to take a quick break so you guys can listen to some ads and we can pay those bills. So we will be right back. And welcome back. Now it's time for a third segment. And this week we're doing Nightmare Blunt Rotation slasher film edition. So we've each picked 5 characters, specifically teens from slashers, who we would hate to enjoy smoking of the reefer with. So similar to Fantasy Draft, but we can overlap. But who would like to begin? Who would like to, or who would want to go through theirs? How about that? I don't know what the easiest way to go through this is.
I'll go through mine, or I could start however we want to play this.
Sure.
But sure. All right. So I'm going to start off with Randy, played by Jamie Kennedy from Scream.
Okay.
And the reason why I would choose him is because he would just talk about the rules of passing the blunt around, and probably just get so paranoid that he would forget to follow his own rules. And plus, it's Jamie Kennedy, so
yeah,
that's a nightmare in and of itself.
Was on my short list, but he wasn't in my 5.
Cool. Mark, did you have him?
No, I had someone else.
Great. Sorry.
But like,
Start.
I agree though. I would hate that to enjoy with Randy. He would talk too much.
Yes, he would harsh the vibes.
Yeah, harshing the mellow.
Yes, and he would just bring nothing to the circle.
Like Jamie Kennedy.
Like Jamie Kennedy. Yeah.
Exactly like Jamie Kennedy. All right.
All right. You want me to just keep going?
Yeah, let's just do that.
Okay. Next, Judy, played by Karen Fields from Sleepaway Camp. Judy is your grade A alpha. She's a mean girl. She would want to establish dominance in the circle, and she would just like make fun of you if you coughed. I feel like if your bud was too strong,
totally would.
Yeah, she would just she would go in on you for the entire time. And again, we don't need that. It's not fun. We're all here to have a good time. Next, I have, this is a little lesser known, I think, but the character is Bill Freeberg, played by Kyle Labine from Freddy v. Jason. Freddy vs. Jason. So he's the guy who's basically a ripoff of Jay from Jay and Silent Bob.
Okay.
Right. He has the beanie and he's wearing the long jacket. And yet too far out there in terms of smoking. You know, like he's done it too much. He might bring some good stuff, but I feel as if he would kind of like bogart it a little bit. And he might get a little too trippy and a little bit too wacky with his theories and stuff that he talks about. Just trying to keep it even keel, you know? No crazy conspiracy theories, please. Next, Helen Shivers, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar from I Know What You Did Last Summer. Okay. She's a prom queen. Don't need that. Don't need the prom queen in there. She knows she's better than you. She'll look down on you. She might not even smoke. You know, she might not even smoke. So she'll just be like, oh, what's this? Oh, no, thank you. So, no, as much as I like Sarah Michelle Gellar, I don't need that vibe there. Thank you, but no thank you. So, I have 6, but I'll just... And no one's had any of these so far, I'm guessing?
Nope.
No.
Okay. I don't know if he's a teenager, but I'm going to throw it out here. Ricky Caldwell from Silent Night, Deadly Night 2.
Okay, yeah.
He is just clearly batshit crazy, and he would murder you.
Yeah.
Obviously not what you want for
Yeah.
your blunt rotation. And I had a bonus in there. Corey Feldman now.
Okay.
Just Corey Feldman.
Just Corey Feldman, because again, conspiracy theorist, please don't come in here. We're all just trying to chill. He's talking about how our minds are going to get hacked, or there's like nanobots in the reefer. We're good, man. Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it, but we're good.
All right. Mark, what about you?
Yeah. So I'm glad I had done this and was not 100% sure I did it correctly until Dan started reading off his list, and I'm like, all right, good, because for a while there I thought we had to pick the people we would want to smoke the most with.
It's nightmare
Slasher films.
blunt rotation.
Yeah, and then I realized, like, oh yeah, I did that right. Okay, I got a little nervous. So anyway, I'll start off with from Scream. I picked Stewart. What's his name? The one of the two killers. Obviously for the sheer reason that he's a batshit crazy and
Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard, yeah. I couldn't think of his name for a second. Yeah, so he's a little more off the wall, unpredictable. So I would not want to have him, no matter what kind of a weed we gave him. There's always a chance that in a split second he could kill the entire group.
Sure.
I picked for the slightly same reason, but also it could start off chill, but you never know if she's got some alternate motives. I picked B from The Babysitter because she could be setting up a demonic ritual with us. So it would not, but hide it really well. It would start off fun, but then turn into a nightmare.
I like that. That's a good one.
And just because I would be, this is more of a me personally thing, I would be incredibly paranoid giving this person weed, but I feel like if I gave Ricky from Sweepaway Camp weed, he would find a way to get us in trouble with the cops because of it. And I just feel like it would be a really bad idea to do that from that movie. And then the last two are basically sort of the same type of person. I picked one that is kind of a boring character a little bit, but would attract serial killers and slashers. I would not want to have Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street in my blunt rotation because she's too much of a magnet for killers, and sure. I would not want to, especially if we smoke some good hash that makes us nod off and fall asleep. She would be really bad for that. And then just because from what I remember of the movie, she has still the same vibe, and you don't really need to draw any extra attention to your blunt circle. I picked Susie Lynn, who's played by Barbara Crampton from Chopping Mall, to the thing there. Yeah, so my whole thing is I just want a chill circle that doesn't draw too much attention, and everybody that I picked here would essentially make me way too paranoid to enjoy my smoke.
Okay. Barbara Crampton could come to my weed circle any day. I don't care which one. She's always welcome. Standing invitation to this day. To this day!
This is, as everyone knows who's listened to us, this is a Barbara Crampton Stan podcast.
Absolutely.
She could do no wrong for sure.
I mean, she falls on the same line as B, where like, sure, Samantha Weir leaving, I'd love to have her in one circle, but I'd be paranoid the entire time that something would be coming to get me.
There you go. All right. For mine, I did actually have Judy, but I have alternates. So my first one is the major one. He is the worst character in any slasher movie. And the best part of it is he's easy to get away from. Franklin from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Terrible. I hate saying that because he is in a wheelchair, but just because you're in a wheelchair doesn't mean you're not an asshole.
And it's not because he's in a wheelchair.
No.
Yeah.
So many other reasons. Just terrible. Hate him. Likewise, from I Know What You Did Last Summer, I'm going with Ryan Phillippe's Barry because he's a fucking asshole in that movie. He's a drunk. He's a piece of shit. He's ready to throw down with everybody in that movie. Just not the vibe you want for the blunt rotation.
Sure.
I am going with Taryn from Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Warriors, because she's not going to stop at weed. She's going to break out the heroin, and I don't want that I don't want that shit in my house.
That's true. Yeah, she's going to take it too far.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I'm not ready to go that far. I don't think I ever will be.
She truly believes that weed is a gateway drug.
Yes, and she's ready to cross that gateway. Another one is Shelly from Friday the 13th Part 3. I don't need the funny guy. I don't need him.
Oh, yes. I didn't know who he was at first.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the one, he wears the mask.
He's the one that brings in the hockey mask into it. Yeah.
Oof.
Don't need him.
Yeah, because he would just try to do like practical jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And he would do something that would, like, he would accidentally set something on fire. And he's just like, come on, man, chill out.
Yeah. And he's just going to piss off the lady folk.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want that. Kills the vibe.
He'll complain that he's not getting any ladies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But meanwhile, he has the can of peanut brittle. Well, why ladies? Come on, dude. Read the room.
Yeah. As my last one, speaking of, I don't need the funny guy, I'm going with Jerry, played by Chris Hardwick from House of a Thousand Corpses.
Yeah.
For as much the actor as the character.
Yeah. I just can't do it. He's just too much in that fucking movie, man. He just thinks everything's so funny, so ironically funny. Just, oof. The Gen X vibes off of him is just killing me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he'd also kind of like look down on you.
Yeah. My last, I also had like an honorable mention just because we actually watched this movie this weekend. Alice from Bodies, played by Rachel Sennett.
That's a good one.
I could have picked anybody from that movie, but she, more power to her. She has a podcast, but yeah, she's a pain in the ass.
Say no more.
Yeah. As one with a podcast, we can be insufferable. I think most people from that movie is pretty insufferable.
I can't think of anybody that's not off the top of my head. And I've only seen the trailer.
Yeah, I was just gonna spin a wheel, which contained every character from the movie, and just that was gonna be my fifth or my honorable mention. Yeah. But like Pete Davidson, I'd rather share a week with than anybody.
Oh
else.
Yeah,
because
he's actually funny.
Yeah.
Now that movie is good, but yes, every single character is insufferable in Bodies.
Yeah.
My alternate was, I didn't know, I'd have to look it up, but I was just going to pick Busta Rhymes.
You wouldn't want to smoke weed with Busta Rhymes?
Maybe also, I wrote that down when I had maybe as a panic when I thought I had it wrong.
You're talking about the one that says "trick or treat, motherfucker," and then yeets Michael Myers out the window.
Kicks him out the window.
Another defenestration.
I take that back.
Well, to be fair, he's not a teenager.
No, he's a grown adult man. Yes,
he's very much a grown man. Because I thought we were just sticking to teenagers, right?
Well, just like the group of teens that gets hassled.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm not really like, well, he's 21 technically. He's not a teen.
Sure.
Yeah.
One of my Roland from Freddy vs. Jason.
Kelly Rowland.
Kelly, what did I say?
You broke up a little.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Kelly Rowland from Freddy vs. Jason. Just because she's just a bad actress in that.
Okay. Yeah. Now we don't have to go through lists, but is there anybody that you would have in your blunt rotation that you're thinking of? Because I have one.
Anyone I would want? That's a good question.
I'll say mine. Margot Kidder from the original Black Christmas, because she's just a party girl. She's drunk. Okay. She's just looking for a good time.
Sure.
I can get down with that.
Yeah, that's not bad. Anyone that I would want in my blunt rotation. I'm trying to think. That's a good question. Mark, do you have anyone?
What that I would want?
Yeah.
Kincaid from Dream Warriors.
Kincaid.
I think I would take one of Dan's picks for Nightmare and just give me Sarah Michelle Gellar. even
Yeah.
in my dream blunt rotation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of what her name is. She's in a bunch of movies. She was in like not Night of the Creeps. Damn it, Night of the Demons. And she's always naked. I can't remember her name.
Trash from Return of the Living Dead is
Yes. Yeah, the Linnea Quigley.
Yeah.
So pretty much like any character she plays.
Yeah.
Because
give me Trash from Return of the Living Dead.
yeah, because she's down to clown. So
Yeah.
you just see where the night takes you with her.
Yeah, I'd steal Barbara Crampton from Mark's list for my dream rotation.
Sure.
PJ Souls from Halloween.
Okay.
Totally. That might annoy me a little bit. She says totally all the time.
I wouldn't go anyone from Nightmare because I agree with Mark. You don't want to invite Freddy into
that's fair.
Into the situation. I'd probably take Samara Weaving. I'd probably take I would take who's the jock from that movie?
Like Rob Hamill?
Yeah, because he gives you affirmations while he's trying to kill the kid in that movie, and he's like, so I can only imagine like you could lay your troubles on him a little bit, like so and so, how do I get her to notice me? And he would tell you like, listen, man, you just gotta grab life by the horns. Just go in there, be confident, just tell her how you feel. So I think he'd be a pretty good person to have in the blunt rotation.
Yeah, the good Amel brother.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
I would take him.
All right.
And Trash.
Trash. Gotta take Trash. She's not necessarily a slasher film, but I'll allow it.
She's taking her clothes off again.
You want that energy. You want that energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's direct quote from Return of the Living Dead. Trash is taking her clothes off again. Get the light over here.
All right. Well, that is our episode on Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Check us out on our socials. You know what? Don't even bother going on X, formerly known as Twitter in general. But if you're there, TikTamPod there. We're also on Instagram at TikTamPod, and we are on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie. And if you have any questions, comments, you want to suggest a movie to us, hit us up at TikTamPod@gmail.com. We got horror movies coming up next month. If you got horror movies that you think we should see, reach out to us. Let us know what movies we should be watching. Check us out on YouTube as well. They Called Us a Movie. Just look for us there, and Threads, I suppose. TikTamPod. That's it. That's the episode. The director of Friday the 13th, the final chapter, is Joseph Zito. So, for Dan Aquino, Mark Myers is Anthony DeVecchio telling Joseph Zito, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TikTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.